The first thing I want to discuss is the Vegas odds over under win totals for the 2020 NFL season. And I'm just going to say whether I think it's an over, an under, or a push regarding each team, all 32 teams. And it's going to go in decreasing order of projected win totals by Vegas. So starting off with the Chiefs, projected 11.5. I think that's an over. I think they brought back 21 of their 22 starters from their Super Bowl winning season. I think that's a recipe for another really great season. So definitely over 11.5 for the Chiefs. I think for the Ravens, also over. They're 11.5 as well. I think they got better. I think they had Calais Campbell. They had a great draft. J.K. Dobbins in the second round, pick 55. And so I think that's going to give them an even greater boost in the running game, which they probably didn't need, but now they're really dominant. And they also got Patrick Queen in the first round, who is probably the best linebacker if you exclude Isaiah Simmons. I think he's a safety and all that. If you exclude Isaiah Simmons, he's probably the best linebacker in the class along with Kenneth Murray. So I think definitely an over for the Baltimore Ravens. The 49ers at 10.5. I think that's an over as well. I feel like these odds, these win totals are low for some of the good teams, and there are a lot of teams that they're too high for. But especially like they're sort of capped at 11.5, which I don't necessarily agree with. And so yeah, the Niners at 10.5, definitely an over. They replaced DeForest Buckner with Javon Kinlaw, who's younger and cheaper, but obviously not as good right now as DeForest Buckner. But they also got Brandon Ayuk, who many teams thought was the best receiver in the drafts, like the 49ers. And so he's definitely a great addition to replace Emmanuel Sanders. Speaking of Emmanuel Sanders, the New Orleans Saints at 10. I think that's probably a push, meaning I think they'll win 10 games. Definitely not an under, could be an over, but I'm just going to say push at 10. I think that they added Emmanuel Sanders, which will help them a lot. Help Drew Brees, give Drew Brees another weapon alongside Michael Thomas, because that was really their main guy, maybe even their only guy. So he'll help a lot. The Dallas Cowboys at 10 wins, another push. I think they'll go 10-6. They had a great draft. CeeDee Lamb. They got the corner from Alabama, Trayvon Diggs, in the second round. So they made a lot of great value picks throughout the draft. They lost Byron Jones in free agency to the Dolphins, but I think overall a good draft, a great draft, and they should go 10-6. I think they'll win the division, slightly over the Eagles. The Buccaneers at 10, or the Buccaneers at 9.5. Another over, I think, for sure. For Tampa Bay, I think they just got so much better that there's no way it's just 9.5 wins for them. Around that, I think they'll go 12-4 probably, with all their additions that everyone knows by now. So no need to repeat that. The Patriots at 9.5. I think that's an under for sure. I don't think the Patriots have a great team, and I'm not as high on Bill Belichick as a lot of people are. That's just my opinion. I think Brady was the main reason for their success there. And I think that the Patriots are going to really struggle this year. So that's what I think for them. The Eagles at 9.5. I think under, but just slightly. I think they'll go 9-7. Their draft was controversial. They didn't trade up to get CeeDee Lamb, but I think Jalen Reagor fits what they want to do very well, fits what they need very well, which is a speed guy on the outside. Even though he didn't run that well at the combine, that's because he put on weight and all that, so that held him down. But he's a speed guy. It'll be great for Carson Wentz, and I think it'll be a great match. Jalen Hurts in the second round. I think it could pay off. I mean, I think they had to. I would have preferred to take a quarterback later on if I'm the Eagles. because the second round seems a bit too early. But Carson Wentz does get hurt. He doesn't miss a lot of games, but there's the injury concern with him. So to have a backup or maybe a guy you can use in the Taysom Hill type could be very good for them. The Steelers at 9.5, I'm gonna say over. Just because I'm assuming Big Ben comes back healthy and plays well, and their defense is great. The Bills at 9, I'm gonna go push. Push on the Bills at 9. I think they're gonna win the division, the AFC East. 9-7, 10-6, I think is realistic for them. They added AJ Pineza, and they're just a good team, great defense. Stephon Diggs obviously traded for him, so yeah. Bills push at 9. The Packers, I'm gonna say under at 9 wins. Probably the most controversial draft, definitely. With the addition of Jordan Love in the first round, who's not going to be a contributor for the next 3 years. So the first round pick was kind of not a win now move, but I don't hate it as much as everyone else. But in terms of this season, yeah, it won't help them. And they didn't draft a receiver at all. So I still think Devontae Adams is great. So he'll be good, but we'll see what happens with the Packers. I think under 9. The Seahawks at 9 wins, over. Russell Wilson, Seattle, Pete Carroll. They just seem to be 10-6, 11-5, 12-4 every year. I think it'll stay that way. The Colts at 9, I'll say push. I'm not sure on Phillip Rivers. He struggled last year, but 2 years ago he was great. Maybe he hit the wall, maybe he didn't. I think the Colts are a better team for him right now than the Chargers, though, given the Colts O-line. And so that'll help him out a lot with his age and all that. And if he can cut down on turnovers, this team should be very good. They have a great defense, a good young core, so it should work well for them. The Vikings at 9, I'll say push. They traded away Stephon Diggs and replaced him with Justin Jefferson, which I don't hate. I think Justin Jefferson's a great receiver. Then they drafted Jeff Gladney at 31, I think, which is, I really like Jeff Gladney out of TCU. And so I think they added a replacement for Xavier Rhodes, who wasn't very good last year. And so 9 seems reasonable. Maybe they'll get another one, get into the playoffs. I actually think they're probably going to win the division. So, yeah. The Titans at 8.5, I think under. It was just hard to do what they did last year. So, and they were a 9-7 team, I think. 9-7, 10-6 in the regular season. So I think under 8.5, probably. Tannehill got paid. But we'll see what happens. The Browns at 8, I think, is an over. I think Kevin Stefanski is a lot better coach than Freddie Kitchens. He'll bring more stability to that team. And Baker regressed last year, but I think he'll get better. He'll get back to where it was his rookie season. I'm a big Baker fan, so over for the Browns on 8 wins. The Rams at 8 and under. I don't think the Rams are going to be very good. I don't like Jared Goff much. I like him more than most people, but that's not saying a lot. They lost a lot of talent. They have no cap space. Oh, well, they had no cap space, but now they're getting rid of players to create that cap space. So that'll be rough. So under on the Rams. The Bears at 8 wins, also under. Who's their quarterback? I don't know, but if it's Mitch Trubisky, then that's not much to work with. And Nick Foles, I just don't know about him. I think he was great in Philly. Failed in Jacksonville, even though he didn't really play. Gardner Minshew took over that team after Foles got hurt week 1, so that's what happened in Jacksonville. The Broncos at 8. I really like the Broncos. I think this is an over. I think Drew Lock got a lot of weapons. The Broncos gave him Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. I think they signed they got AJ Boye. I believe AJ Boye is a Bronco. So I think The team's a lot better than it was, and I think they're going to be very good. I really like the Broncos. The Chargers at 7.5 over. I think Tyrod is good enough to get you 8 wins. I don't think Herbert should play this year. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he was the third best quarterback in the class. I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people dislike Herbert, don't think he was a first round guy or whatever. But I think he's really talented, just has a lot of stuff to work on. So over 7.5 for the Chargers though, with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. The Falcons at 7.5 under. Already covered this in episode 1 with my 5 hardest, 5 easiest schedules. I think Dan Quinn's done. After this year, I don't see them winning more than 6-7 games. So that's where I am with them. Even though they added Todd Gurley, but his injuries, his knees they're done. So that's where I am with the Falcons. The Texans at 7.5. I actually think under. They lost DeAndre Hopkins and replaced him with Brandon Cooks, who is just too injury prone for me. He's not going to replace DeAndre Hopkins at all. I don't think anyone can, probably. I mean, unless it's Julio or Michael Thomas or something. But DeAndre Hopkins was one of the 3 best receivers in the league, and now he's not there anymore for Deshaun Watson as a safety valve, a guy he can trust. And the rest of the receivers are injury prone. The O-line still isn't great. David Johnson is injury prone, so it's rough for them. And they don't have a first round pick. They didn't have a first round pick because they traded to the Dolphins, and they don't have a first round pick again next year because that's also in Miami in the trade for Laremy Tunsil, who they extended recently. But yeah, under 7.5. Cardinals, another team like the Broncos, I really like. They're at 7.5. I'm gonna say over. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Isaiah Simmons. I think they had a great offseason, and I'm counting on Cliff Kingsbury to turn it around, along with Kyler Murray, and obviously. But I think it's an over. The Raiders at 7.5. First year in Las Vegas. I'm gonna say under. I like the Raiders. I think they're young. I don't know about Derek Carr. I'm not a huge fan. And I think it's his last year there, even though I know a lot of stats support Derek Carr's play, and I'm not as low as him, low on him as a lot of people, but not super high as Raiders fans are on Derek Carr. So I'm gonna say under. The Jets at 7, I think is a push. I think they go 7-9, 8-8, something around 7. I think that's a good number. Mekhi Becton, they added to protect Sam Darnold, which was great. I really like the pick. Denzel Mims in the second round to give Darnold a weapon. Great again. I think they did a lot of good work. I just think their schedule got harder. And this happened to all the AFC East teams, which is why I don't think the records are going to improve that much, regardless of how much better they got. But yeah, I think it's an important year for Sam Darnold to show what he can do. I'm a big Sam Darnold fan, so I think he'll do well with the team. But 7-9, 8-8. Adam Gase is not a very good coach. That's the truth. So yeah, push on 7. The Lions at 6.5 under, like the Falcons. I already discussed this in episode 1 with the Lions. I think I like Matt Stafford. I just don't think Matt Patricia is very good, and I think he's gonna get fired, like Dan Quinn. So under 6.5 for the Lions. The Giants at 6.5. I think 6 is a good number for them, so that would be under. Another year to go for Daniel Jones. Receivers are questionable, I guess, but they added Andrew Thomas to protect him. Darius Slayton, I think at receiver, he's a good receiver, but I'd like to see a true number 1 there, or even a number 2 to help Darius Slayton, something along those lines, to give Daniel Jones another weapon. Obviously, Saquon's great, but yeah, I think under. We'll have to see what Joe Judge can do in his first year. I'm not really sure about him. He's an X factor, I guess. So depending on how good he is, we'll see. The Dolphins at 6, I think, is an over. think they'll go 7-9, 8-8. Um, I think that's what's gonna happen to the Dolphins. To be honest, I think they just got really good, like a lot better over the offseason in the draft. Obviously, got Tua, 3 first-round picks, like Tua, Austin Jackson, Noah Benogany. In the 2 second-round picks they got Robert Hunt, Raekwon Davis. They added a safety, Brandon Jones, in the 3rd out of Texas. They got Curtis Weaver in the 5th round, which I think was a steal. All-time Mountain West Conference sack leader with 34 sacks, so he's great. And they had Byron Jones, Kyle Van Noy, Jordan Howard. They traded for Matt Breida during the draft for a 5th-round pick, which was a great trade for the Dolphins. They improved their O-line. I think they're going to be good. The only problem for them right now is the team is so new. A lot of new pieces together, and the offseason isn't traditional right now. It's not a traditional offseason, so I think it'll be harder for them to come together in the beginning of the season. But I think they're definitely going to find a really good rhythm somewhere mid-season to late season, and this is all assuming that Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting. If Tua's starting, we'll see where that goes. I really like Tua. I think he's amazing. Again, I'm a Dolphins fan. And so I'm hoping for the best. I think 7-8 is a good year, especially considering their schedule, which is, I think, 3rd hardest in the league. So yeah, the Panthers at 5.5. I think it's over. I don't think they're tanking. A lot of people think they're trying to get Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. I don't think so. If they're in that position, I think they would take them. Obviously, take one of them. But I think Teddy Bridgewater is good enough to win you 6-7 games, maybe 8-9. Who knows? He has DJ Moore at receiver, Christian McCaffrey, obviously. The O-line, they traded away Trey Turner, which they lost that trade, obviously. They got an aging O-lineman in return. That was more of a salary dump move. For the Panthers, their defense got a lot better. Derek Brown, 7th overall pick. It was an all-defensive draft. They also got Yetur Gross-Matos in the 2nd, who I really like. So I think their defense is better. Their offense, Teddy Bridgewater should help them a lot win a few games. So yeah, I think the Panthers over 5.5. The Bengals at 5.5. I also think over. I think 6-10, 7-9 range. Probably closer to 6-10. I really like Joe Burrow. I just think that's a really difficult division. That's really it. I don't think I don't hate the Bengals roster, like a lot of people are pointing at as a reason why Joe Burrow is gonna fail. I don't think he's gonna fail. I think he's at some point in his career he's gonna be a top 5 quarterback in the league, a superstar, elite level player. I think he's great. Similar with Tua. I think those two were the clear top 2 quarterbacks in the draft. And so this year, at least his first year on the team with Zach Taylor, I think 6-10 is realistic, and good for the Bengals. The Redskins at 5, I think, is a push. I think they'll go 5-11, but it'll be an improved 5-11, similar to what the Dolphins did last year, where they went 5-11, but it was impressive. So I think that's what's going to happen with the Redskins. I think Dwayne Haskins will solidify himself as the quarterback. Chase Young obviously is going to be a force, I think. And yeah, they could use another receiver to help out alongside Terry McLaurin. Something along those lines. Adrian Peterson is still there at running back. He's getting older, but he's still really good. And so that's what I think is going to happen to the Redskins. Great D-line. A lot of first-round picks, sort of like the Niners. The Jaguars. This is the tank team of the season. I don't think any team tanks. I don't think that's a thing in the NFL. Maybe you could point to the Colts. But that's about it, I believe. For Andrew Luck, obviously. And so I'm gonna say they're 4.5 wins projected. I'm gonna say under. I think they're gonna have the first pick. I think Trevor Lawrence is theirs to lose right now. And I just don't think they're a very good team. Not a lot of talent, but I do think they got some nice pieces in the draft. Obviously, 2 first-round picks, C.J. Henderson at corner to replace Jalen Ramsey. Will he be quite as good? I don't know. I don't think he was as good of a prospect, but I still think he was a really good prospect. CJ Henderson. Then they got K'Lavon Chaisson, who I think is a good edge rusher. I remember one game that stood out to me of his was the SEC championship against Georgia. He made a few really nice plays going up against Andrew Thomas, who was drafted 4th, so I really like him. But I still think under 4.5. I think the Jaguars will get better though later on. They have some time, a way to go though. So yeah, that's why I'm with the Jaguars, and that's all 32 teams. Those are the Vegas odds. That's what I think is going to happen.